Hey everybody, this time we are going to be talking about Garmin's Sonar units, and this time I'm going to be using a new Garmin mouse. Here's a picture of the mouse right here, and as you can see, instead of having to touch the screen, I can now have a mouse and use this on any of the 5200 series. So today we're going to be talking about the Sonar. Let's go ahead and show you what that looks like. First of all, this is a 5208 screen. As you can see, I have the Sonar option. That means I have purchased the Sonar box, Garmin's GSD22. I've wired this up to the 5208, and that gives me the Sonar options. But this could, of course, also apply to any 4200 series, even Garmin's 400 or 500 series. So let's get started with Sonar. Let me click on that. And first thing I want to do is just click on full screen. So full screen Sonar is going to give me just that, full screen of Sonar. And you're probably asking, what are we looking at? Well, first of all, let's look at the top. This up here is what we call surface noise or surface clutter. Down at the bottom, this is the actual bottom return. And then anything in between is going to be either fish or targets or submerged brush. So this looks like a big school of fish. Another couple of fish holding above the surface, and maybe a smaller fish in here. This right here looks like a big pile of brush or sticks or rocks right along the bottom, and then a nice big pile of bait fish holding right above that. So again, anything that's white background would be no return. The red would show up as the strongest return, and then weaker returns would show up in blues. So again, we're looking at a really, really nice return from the bottom here, and again, some surface noise. All right. First of all, let's look over in the corner. I'm looking at 155, 170 feet of water depth. You can see on the right-hand side, this would be 0 feet right at the top, 40, 80, 120, all the way down to 200 feet. And you can see the bottom holding at about 160, 170 feet. Also, if your transducer is equipped, you can get water temperature and also your speed through the water. You must have a transducer that shows not just depth, but temperature and speed if you want to read these on the Sonar screen. Okay, one thing to know about the Sonar, of course, is what are we looking at? Well, your boat is right up here, if you can picture it, right up here in the upper right-hand corner. And right underneath here, this is what's underneath the boat right now. This is what's underneath the boat a second ago, 2 seconds ago, 3 seconds ago. So you get a history of what's underneath the boat behind you. But of course, this is the most important information. This is what's right underneath the boat right now. A couple of other things to point out with the Sonar. If you ever see this number flashing, right now it's steady and it's reading. If that number is ever flashing, that means that you've lost track of the bottom. It no longer has a return from the transducer, and it no longer has any idea what the actual bottom reading is. So if you see that flashing, be careful you don't have lock on the bottom. One of the questions I always get is, what does this red line mean? Well, of course, this is the return from the bottom. If you were to step out of your boat and step down into the water, this is where your foot would hit, right here. This is the bottom that you'd feel. One thing we can tell is the thickness of this line indicates how soft or hard a bottom is. So if you were to get a very thick red line on the bottom, a very thick return, what that means is a lot of that transducer energy is bouncing back up and is being received by that transducer, and you get a very thick red line down here. If the bottom was very soft, like a muddy bottom, not much of the energy is bounced back, so you get a very thin red line. So a thicker line would indicate rock or sandy bottom. A thinner line would indicate a